I need to get off my phone, okay? Because if there has ever been a point when I realized I was stupid, it's when I watched late night TV, watched an actress tell an outlandish story, and sat there and thought, I need to Google that, and then did. So I'm not doing well mentally. Somebody else who's not doing well mentally would be one Kim Kardashian. Because Kate Beckinsale was on one of those late night talk shows, and she commenced to tell the most insane story about how her daughter's boyfriend is an egg layer. He lays eggs. So not only is he not a female bird, he's a mammal who could never lay an egg anyway, even if he was a female. Yes, he's laid an egg. And she tells this story in the most straight-faced way. Well, you know she's quite the prankster herself. Okay, because Kate Beckinsale has told many a strange story on late night TV. She is always ripe for the plucking when it comes for a weird story. She told one outlandish story one time where she's really big into practical jokes, and she was with this one guy, and when he fell asleep, she put a piece of chocolate between his butt cheeks so that in the morning he would think he'd had an accident. Really? Okay, Kate. However you want to spend your time. But I guess because she spent so much of her time in such foolish folly and fancy that it didn't shock her even a bit when her daughter's boyfriend comes to the family and says that he laid an egg with a shell and a yolk.
He laid 2 eggs in a week, is what the bright spot was.
He's laid 2 eggs in a week.
Well, he said, I've laid an egg. And of course I was like, okay, trying to pull focus on the cancer operation, but it had a shell and a yolk.
An egg came out of his body?
Yes, I'm not out of his mouth or ears. It came out the route that it would come out of a hen. So the first time it happened, he was genuinely scared, and he was like, it's got a full shell, it's got a yolk, and
What?
It's the size of a bird. Well, he
crushed it.
Yes, he crushed it to see what was inside. A yolk was inside. Like a hard-boiled one, too, so it kind of cooked inside him. Okay, well, boyfriend's laid an egg, whatever. And then, a week later, and I get a text going, oh my God, he's done it again. And now he's really freaking out. Are you putting eggs up your bottom? And he said...
It's a fair question, are you putting eggs up your bottom?
I think it's quite hard to put an egg up your bottom and then get it out whole without injuring the egg. I mean, I think that's a skill. I texted all these doctors that I know, and then they texted everyone they were ever at medical school with. So the whole of America was involved. So it's my favourite thing he's ever done, and I really like him anyway.
What are we talking about? And she's like exasperated that the audience is not faster on the uptake, which of course is all part of the way she tells the story, She's telling the story that way on purpose. It's all supposed to be this great big comedic moment, but she doesn't deny that this really happened. For all the people out there who's like, I knew that there were lizard people among us, this is just another data point for them. But I will tell you that she got me to Google, is it possible for you to lay an egg? I mean, that's how convinced I was of the story she was telling. I thought, is this a physical anomaly? Like, is it a possible... Why? It's almost like I'm losing my mind. I need to get off my phone, okay? Because if there has ever been a point when I realized I was stupid, it's when I watched late night TV, watched an actress tell an outlandish story, and sat there and thought, I need to Google that, and then did. So I'm not doing well mentally. Somebody else who's not doing well mentally would be one Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian has failed law school, as we've talked about many times. She is disgruntled because her sister, namely Kourtney, does not support. And she is upset because, she struggled to pass the baby bar, then she finally passed the baby bar, and then she was supposed to do the real bar, and then she did not pass that. And of course, the psychics had told her she would, and then lo and behold, those scoundrels lied. I mean, who saw that coming? Who saw them making something up to get the next paycheck, I mean, gosh. Anyway, she has been talking for ages about how disappointed she is that this didn't pan out and blaming everybody and crying and saying the whole world doesn't understand how much she wants this. Even though her greatest support system in all of this wasn't an actual trained professional to help her get through these exams, but a ChatGPT bot that failed her miserably as he taught her incorrectly. So she's like, I'm trying so hard. I'm like, what's your definition of trying so hard? Anyway, I guess because she couldn't seem to get her act together, she decided to go to the hospital and get some brain scans. Kim had been to the doctor where they discovered that she had an aneurysm, and they said that it was stress related or something like that. And so as she's getting more scans done of the brain, they find that she has low brain activity. Part of me is like, you needed to go to the doctor to figure that one out? Come on, Kim. I think anyone could have told you that brain activity wasn't the highest functioning aspect of her physicality. But she's got holes in her brain, okay? And that means she's not going to be passing no bar anytime soon. They say this is probably why she wasn't passing it before, because she can't retain the knowledge. You know, what with all those holes in her brain? She's sitting there flabbergasted. What? This can't be. And she actually is like, well, I'm just going to will it to not be. And I'm like, again, the low brain activity. But she claims that the stress of her life not only is trying to pass the bar, but also Kanye. He'd put holes in your brain too. And so this whole thing is just a story waiting to unfold. It's kind of something I might not tell the world if I was a Kardashian, that now the doctors are even telling me that not only is my brain full of holes, but I have low brain function. Like, I don't feel like I would want to confirm that with medical evidence, but she's deciding to be big, brave, and bold. And I guess that's how she got here in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So if you were going to have a sex tape, what difference does it make for you if you also tell the people you have holes in your brain? I mean, maybe that explains the sex tape, you know? Who knows?
What the holes mean is low activity. Compared to this one, the front part of your brain is less active than it should be. With your frontal lobes as they work now, it would be harder to manage stress.
That just can't be. It just can't. Not accepting.
Anyway, I'm surprised always by what the Kardashians are willing to admit on TV, and they even act as though they're not admitting everything. You know, sometimes you see them talking amongst themselves. I was watching Khloe interviewing her sister, and they were talking and they were being not explicit in the way that they could have described something, kind of talking around certain subjects. And then I saw her interviewing Scott, and they did the same thing, and I thought, so I guess there is some things you guys hold back from the rest of us. Like, you're being a little bit cagey. We saw Kim on Call Her Daddy podcast. She too was very media trained. And yet they got their sex tapes, they got all their baby daddies, and they've got holes in their brains, and they're letting everyone know it. What are you guys not telling us? You know, what vault of secrets might that be? But I will say, I did see a clip of Kim this past week where I genuinely felt my heart moved for her in a way I never have. And I thought, oh, I am human. And that was like comforting to know. Because she was talking about how when she was robbed in Paris, that was 100% real. It was never anything for TV. It was something that actually happened to her, which is not hard to believe because she's, you know, flashing her money, her rings, everything all the time. Like, wouldn't her apartment be the very best place to get a payday? I mean, all these expensive clothes, all these expensive jewels. She's got all the real stuff. You know, she's not walking around in fake jewels. So I never doubted that she really had been robbed at gunpoint. That made sense to me. If I was a criminal, hello, you know. But she said that Kanye came out and told everybody that she had made it up for TV. And he had done that to undermine her. And so she's talking about how validating it was to go back to Paris and have these people called to account and have her experience validated. And while she's talking about it, there was no theatrical crying. There was just a person really sitting there telling you how devastating it had been to have the person who was closest to her throw her under the bus, diminish her experience, and lie about the scariest thing that ever happened to her. And she doesn't hysterically cry, but she gets teary-eyed, and I felt so bad for her. I really appreciated how honest she was in that moment and how true I felt that her feelings were and how there was nothing about it that felt performative or hyped up for TV. It was just somebody sitting there telling you how hard it was that the person that she loved the most and had children with could be so cruel as to undermine one of the worst experiences that had changed her completely. Because even her family says she's not the same person that she was before the robbery.
And you faked your robbery for a TV show and had said that in front of all these people. That was so like a knife to my heart. Just to think that someone wouldn't believe you is like, that's so close to you, that should know you, that should know how much that affected your life. So to finally be able to go to trial and face these people, I'm happy it's over.
I felt for her. I really did. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I do spend some time talking about all these people and pop culture, and so many of these people are like almost like reoccurring storylines in like a sitcom or something. But there are real people and real emotions and real experiences behind all this. And I appreciated her sharing her story in a way that felt completely and totally devoid of the show or the cameras and just sitting there talking like a human. I like that.